Welcome back, everyone, to week 39, where despite price fluctuations or whatever happened this week, there's a number of things, nothing really changed except sentiment seems to have reversed course, and I will talk about that and a few other things. So to start with gold, and actually base metals seem to be doing the same thing. I'm talking copper, zinc, what have you. They seem to be consolidating, and in my opinion, I think they're waiting to see what goes on with the Fed, and if the Fed will give them give the rest of the world, in currencies at least, some relief for the time being, with a rate cut. And now I think gold is, in US dollars terms at least, the most hopeful for a continuous stream of rate cuts because that gold trading in US dollars should have quite a correlation, an anti-correlation to strength of currencies, and so rate cuts should be bullish. Now, the other base metals, um, I would think that it would be more choppy because if there's rate cuts and then the dollar weakens, I would expect competitive devaluation of other currencies, which would then strengthen the dollar relative to the other currencies and could make things slightly more choppy. Now, despite the 2 days until the Fed rate decision, the GDP of the US still growing above 2%, and the S&P 500 is still around its all-time high. So, who knows what's going to happen? I don't. Um, but we'll see. We'll see what that means, and we'll see what happens with the metals. I still think that the possibility of a 25 basis point cut is the highest. I don't know how they're going to justify that, but there is some deterioration, some leading indicators in the global economy, and we'll have to see if the Fed cares about that more than what it looks like is going on right now in the US. So we'll see. So in the theme of Kamiko Kills the Mood Part 2, I have a number of too many thoughts about what Kamiko said in relation to what they're doing and in relation to the market. Now, my guess is them saying they will not ramp up their asset or their tier one assets into a oversupplied market. That probably got uranium investors depressed. Um, and the main point on that is it's true, but it's not what it sounds like. In that, as long as certain market players are willing to dump uh, uranium for Cameco to buy at $25, well, if one of the biggest suppliers in the market is able to buy at $25, well, then in some ways the market's oversupplied. However, if you look at the supply and demand picture, well, you can draw your own conclusions about whether or not the market's oversupplied. I would contend that it's not, but depends how you want to look at what the reactors are consuming and what's going on with inventories and a full picture. Now, the two other things that happened, or one other thing that happened this week is China announced that construction was underway for 6 new reactors at 3 new sites. And these reactors will combine to for 7.4 gigawatts of generation capacity. And the way I think of this, to give you an idea, if you're not familiar with all of the options out there with uranium, is Vimy Resources. Vimy Resources, they hope to be in construction and ramped up in a few years, 2022, I believe, maybe 2023 was their anticipation or hope. And so they hope to produce 3.5 million pounds a year. So if you look at the requirements for those reactors, you look at their initial baseload fuel load, um, and you look at the life of the mine. So for the first, well, until 2040, let's say, that is essentially all of the uranium that Vimy Resources will produce, gone in one day announcement. And that's not a tiny mine, Vimy Resources. It is, compared to what's available out there, that's a significant mine. I could count 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 7 projects out there that are bigger, and some of those are very far away. So it's a significant demand, and it is just announced in one day, and it could be the beginning of the fourth wave, as China has historically um, built reactors in waves, and there's been a few years of no approvals, no construction starts, and they have said that they're going to build 6 to 8 reactors per year for the over the next coming, I don't know, decade or so. So that's significant because look at the potential supply out there and have fun finding some for that. And last point that I wanted to point out, because there's a number of people talking about this recently, the SMR technology, small module reactors. Yes, Canada, the US, China, maybe even Russia and some other countries are talking about building this, and they have companies that are researching it and all that. And it feels like, okay, this might work differently because this could be mass produced and all that. That's not what I'm de-hyping right now. I just want to point out that small module reactors are not that small. They're not the size of a coffee cup, so it's not like you can just sell hundreds of millions of them. Similarly, they probably have similar permitting and other trifles to get through before they can be set up. But my main point is on the demand side. Big reactors, big demand. Small reactors, small demand. So if all of a sudden we're talking about 100 SMRs versus a dozen nuclear reactor power plants, well, what does that mean? Are they 5 megawatt SMRs? Because if so, what's the demand? So before we get too excited about a whole bunch of small reactors, just remember what that could mean demand-wise in terms of how much uranium will be needed to power them. Now, of course, it's a good potential for the environment, and I think it's a healthy path for the nuclear industry. But just remember what it means. Oh boy, I've been talking a lot. Yeah, so that's it for uranium. So we switch from that rant to the one point I want to make for the key of next week. The Fed watch on Wednesday at 2 p.m. normally. I haven't checked this time, but the Fed will announce what they're doing with rates. Now, what I want to see is not only that, not only what they say, but also the 26 hours after that. And by that, I mean the rest of that day and how the markets react the next day to give me a sign of what not only what they say, but what people are thinking that that means and how they're thinking about that after they slept on it. So that's the key to the next week. So I apologize for not having any new exciting picks again, but there's a few points I want to make here. One, we're back to the pain trade, where the stocks are going down, fundamentals are improving, what have you. So picks, again, the non-uranium pick is Verde. Again, we're not making this a supersized position, but we're adding here, and um, we'll see how that goes in a few years if they can figure it out. And if they can't, it's not the end of the world because it's not a huge position, unlike the next two picks, which fall into our uranium position. Now, Bannerman, sub 3 cents. We're buying. That's just it. And Uranium Energy Corp. Okay, so it is back down near its low of after the panic. And again, could it go lower? Sure. Why not? Could it go higher? Well, absolutely that too. But the one point I want to make here is there's all this pessimism about the end of the petition 232, didn't get what they want, whatever. I'm not convinced that the entirety of the threat of the, well, yes, it is a threat, that the working nuclear fuel group, because I'm not convinced that that threat is over. Um, so despite the hedges being destroyed, I think that it's quite possible that something might go astray in that area. And UEC, along with a few others, I don't think it's necessary for the fuel group to do something for them in order for them to still be a success long run. I just picked them this week because they had a horrible last week. There's a number of other plays out there from the US that are well, of varying degrees of significance in terms of production numbers globally. And so that's that for here. And since we are here, it seems back in the red. Um, I feel no problems with sharing this again, this portfolio update. Not sure how I'm feeling about the new layout for the Yahoo Finance app. Not really a fan, but what can you do? Anyway, so I have a few videos that I'm almost ready to put out, and I hope to have the time in the next few days to finish up one or two and get them out at some point this week. So if I can do that, I hope you find them interesting. I hope you found this one interesting, and until the next one, thanks for watching. Have a great day. As always, everyone, please do your own research before making any investment decisions. This channel shall not be liable for any losses incurred from investment decisions made as a result of information obtained on this channel. Good luck with your investments. I'll catch you next time.